audience members at home, I hope you hear this because that's kind of the goal here. Could someone in chat just let me know if they can hear me and me alone right now? I'll wait for the confirmation. All right, there's Eli. Uh, Thank you for the confirmation, Eli. Now that I've switched on everybody else's audio, namely Muhammad here, uh, words. Feel free to say them. Ah, see. You know what he was saying before? I'm gonna put this in the universe right now. He was like, Hertz was overpaid. For all you NFL fans, I'm gonna clip that, post it on
Hey,
social media.
hey, all right.
He
I
says
would just
Hertz
like
was
to say,
overpaid.
uh, one, this is a he said situation. Y'all do not know that I say that. Two, I don't know what to think. I think most NFL quarterbacks are overpaid at this point, but hey, that's just me.
um, cool. We are live. Wow, surprise. So live on Twitch here from the Ed Sullivan Theater. Yeah, let's go with that. We're here. We're live. We're active. The Arc 5 Q&A has begun. It has only been, I think, a year and a half since the Arc 5 started. Roughly, I think it's technically a year. Nevertheless, it's been a minute. Hello, everyone. Eli says
As
most
was
sports
it?
players are overrated. As a fan
Well,
of
I'm not.
sports players, I disagree. As a guy who doesn't have their money though, I say yes, please give me. Thank you.
I mean, I think the topic of whether sports players are overpaid or not really comes down to, well, do you think that they should be paid based on the value that they provide their franchises, or do you think they should be paid based on the value that they provide society? Right. And I mean, those two things are not in line because capitalism, but we are not going to get into that because Adarud will just decimate me in the marketplace of ideas.
Capitalism is a thing. That's as far as my opinion will go on it. Cool. Eli, everyone, Eli's the only one in the chat right now, so that's why I'm saying Eli. But everyone, thank you very much for listening, watching, and enjoying the show so far. We're continuing with the show. It is Arc 5 Q&A time. For those of you that are listening on the podcast form, there was a brief explanation of what's going on and what that's about. For those of you that are here live, you probably have a gist. I'll go over it all the same. If you have any questions about the Arc 5 or the show in general, you can toss them in the Twitch chat right now. They'll be answered live basically when they show up in the chat. Or for the past few months, we've been collecting a bunch of questions about Arc 5, questions, answers, comments, concerns about the Arc and how it's interesting and evolved and the shifts that have happened between previous arcs and this one now. So I'll be going down the Discord list of questions. We go back all the way to January 10th, which is wild. How far back the questions go. Um, but before we do that, we should actually get started with the episode itself. And this isn't going to be the start of the episode, but I got to get back into the groove of this because it's been a minute since we've done this. So, and I'm queuing everyone here. That's your cue. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Not a Scratch, the only podcast that believes that Scratch is an overpowered move. I am your host, your PM, your DM, your GM, Andrew himself, and with me here, a Boston fan like no other.
It's me, Mohammed. I didn't think that this is what we do during the Q&A. I didn't think, like, I'm fairly certain we don't do intros at the Q&A, but hey, the standard changes. It's been years. There's no standard. Nothing exists. Nothing matters. Is there someone else here? Are we confirming or denying anything? Are we getting into the Q&A?
There are spoilers. This is your spoiler warning. Everybody that's watching the stream right now or listening to the podcast episode, spoilers. With that said, let's introduce folks.
Yeah. Okay, since Adarud's given me the green light, because when do we plan things ahead of time? I did not know we were doing this. Yeah, over to my right is someone who currently is eating more chocolate chip than cookie.
Hello, it's me. I'm the spoilers, actually. I'm Daisy. And you know, chocolate chips, they're good. So why would you put them in the cookie? It just takes away.
No, I agree. I eat chocolate chips by the handful all the time.
But hello, everybody. I'm here. I was always in Arc 5. You just didn't hear me.
See, I thought it would be smart now to actually add the word spoilers in the Twitch title, which I think would be kind of important.
Wait, what? There are spoilers in a Q&A about the show
Wild.
that's released? What?
Anyway,
Sorry,
so
I have to be this way. Uh, Honorud kicked off this call with talking about sports, so now I just have to beef with him for the next 2 hours. Y'all are just gonna have to
grr,
put up with it. I'm sorry.
anger sounds,
We
etc.
could have had a civil time, but
Do I need to be the one to keep us on track?
Yes,
I don't
please.
I don't know sport, but I
Please.
don't
That's the best part. That's how you can keep us on track. Just randomly insert, I don't know what you're talking about, and then both of us will be too embarrassed to continue the conversation.
I don't know any sport.
Perfect. You'll be a
what
star.
if what
What I do know is
what if we
Pokemon.
start what if we start talking about the U.S. Ultimate Association?
Um, I may have to leave.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Anyways, we have a show. I'm done.
We do. Sorry.
You can put me in my box. I'm done.
I was getting an Altoid. Hello. Time for questions. Let's just jump straight into it because there's usually a preamble, but it's been what, December of 2021 since we last did one of these or something like that. So, uh, it's been a minute. Anyway, let's just jump into the questions. So, starting off in the Discord chat, we'll shout out everybody that's asked us questions, of course, because there is a lot of them. Um, and yeah, we'll go from there. So we'll start off with Evelyn in the chat, a Patreon member, by the way. Shout out Evelyn. Um, General question. This is more, I guess, for both of you because I'm in my own little bubble. At this point, Evelyn was on the Arc One Q&A episode, and I think they've binged the entirety of Existence of Not a Scratch in the last few months.
Everyone in the community has binged the entirety of the show since we last did a Q&A.
That's probably
So.
true. Arc 5 Q&A episode number, what am I? Question number 1, that's the word. I haven't listened up to Arc 5 yet. I think that's the other way around now. I'm pretty sure you've caught up now. So this isn't specific to Arc 5, but here goes. Do you know why there aren't more Pokemon Mystery Dungeon podcasts out there?
Why is this a question for me?
This is a question for the group. I think
Well,
from the different
but why did you
perspectives.
point this question? Why did you point this question at me?
Well, no, I'm not both of you. I think Daisy as a
You go-
as a newcomer
Daisy's
and
more
Muhammad
Daisy's
as
more
a
well suited to answer this.
Muhammad as a guy who does a podcast. You have equal, if differing, levels of understanding of this universe.
I would say there's not many more because I've told them that we're the one that is supposed to be.
Yeah, Daisy's our muscle, I think,
translator.
behind the scene.
They try and start a podcast, and then I knock on their door and say, "You don't want to get scratched, do you?"
No, not a scratch.
That's violent.
Exactly. Come join us. We have absorbed all Pokemon Mystery Dungeon podcasts.
Hey, support
But-
Daisy's here. Sorry, it was right there. It was low hanging fruit. In all seriousness, I think it's just that Mystery Dungeon is, a very niche part of the Pokemon fandom. Not the most niche part, right? But I think like 90% of Pokemon fandom revolves around the anime and the main series.
Shout out my
Yeah.
Pokemon puzzle folks out there.
Pokemon Puzzle League. That's me.
that's
love
just
Pokemon
Daisy. It's
Puzzle
literally
League.
just Daisy.
Hey, I was just playing it the other day. It showed up on Nintendo Switch Online. The N64. That was my game. I was real bad at it, just like Tetris, but I love it. But also, I mean, I feel like there's not a lot of Pokemon podcasts out there. Like, there's a decent chunk enough for there to actually be a Pokemon podcast network and all, but of Pokemon related podcasts, which ones are tabletop role playing actual play games? And then of those, most people probably do want to just do main series stuff or other side stuff. So I don't know. It feels good to be Mystery Dungeon. I think it deserves some more love.
Yeah, I think they've talked about the good points there. There's now that I've been in the industry for a little bit, I've seen a few more. But yeah, it's easier, and I think there's more stuff out there for the you're a trainer type of mold as opposed to the you're a Pokemon mold because it usually involves tinkering with another system or doing dumb things like me and just making up on the spot and persuading people that this is a rule set that makes sense. It's there's not enough out there to make the podcast and continue it. That's the big thing. A lot. I assume there's probably for every one successful podcast, successful in the sense that they're continuing. For every successful podcast out there, there's probably 5 or 10 that are 1, 2, 3 episodes and then abandoned for whatever reason, life stuff, not
Yeah, or
interest
never
anymore.
even see the light of day and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Um,
How about the Pokemon Ranger podcasts,
Now
though?
that look, if I had the time that I wish I had, man, I'd be monopolizing the Pokemon spin-off series podcast industry, that little niche that it is. You
Okay,
know,
but now I'm gonna ask the contentious question that we're probably not gonna answer, because I don't know if there is a right answer, but which is more underrated?
I feel like Pokemon Ranger is more
I would
underrated.
say Ranger, I think.
Yeah. Too
Uh,
many people lost too many DS screens to that game.
It's a fair point.
This is true.
But you do bring up an idea of other offshoots, and now I need to make a note because I just remembered about Pokemon Cafe Remix.
We're making a podcast for that.
Oh, who knows? We'll see. Just jotting down a note somewhere. Don't mind me.
Cool. I think that's a good answer to that first one. Um, we're going down the Discord list here. Cyclone asks, who was at the start of Arc 4 at that point, so Arc 5 Q&A. Are you ever planning or thought about uh, adding other members to the podcast? Hmm.
You know,
See,
we've
See,
talked about
if
it.
we no, see this, if we had just like looked at the questions beforehand, like that would man that's an alley oop that we missed. But I guess Daisy's here now.
It's been a really hard decision, you know. The three of us have been doing this for so long.
right, right.
It's adding another factor in. It could be difficult, but
Mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
know, more people, always more stories. I get to finally speak now.
Yeah, the secrets out. Daisy has been, with the exception of that one Halloween episode 2 years ago, has been on every episode and just silent the entire time. It turns out, funnily enough, I just had them on mute for for the last 3 years. I didn't realize that until
Oh,
like when we recorded that finale. Um, and so
I
so
thought
I
you were just cutting out all my puns.
no, that's the worst part. I don't even have your puns, which is downside for you having done them in the past. But the bright side is you can reuse them, and all of us will feel like they're brand new.
Very true. I can just
Well,
send
well,
you the
well, well,
Audacity
well.
file.
Most of them,
Most of them,
most
most of
most
them,
of
enough of them that you could reuse them without any of us. I get the feeling if you gave a pun, it would just go right over our head as to whether or not you've used it before.
Oh, you'll know.
excuse you. Some of us pay attention to our fellow cast members and have noted down the puns they've been using.
Wait,
Um,
you heard Daisy this entire? Did I just mute them on my end?
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Blasphemy. That's wild. Well, that explains a lot and doesn't explain anything at the same time. So, uh, um, cool. So, in short, have you thought about adding other members to the podcast? Yes. Exhibit A on the call right now. Um, going
And I'm just gonna
forward,
speak. I'm gonna speak to this real quick. Heading into this was heading into arc 4, right? So this was
they
uh
were at the start of Arc 4 when the question was written in our chat. This
ye-
was in January, so this is actually I think was before we reached out to Daisy.
I don't remember exact timeline wise.
I think it was
But
right around the time that I got a message.
yeah, because I don't remember the exact timeline of bringing Daisy on, but at the end of arc 4, which spoiler alert, there was someone else on the show, right? Mansoor was on the show for the first 4 arcs and then left the show. At the end of arc 4, I was very much like I do not want to be the only player. Um, but since we want to get into arc 5, we'll give it one arc. We'll see how it goes. And I think very quickly within Arc 5, we realized, yeah, no, we are not doing, at least for me on my end, I was like, yeah, we're not doing the rest of the show with just one player. I need other players to bounce off of, because otherwise the content gets dry. Um, it wasn't a matter of whether or not we were gonna bring someone else on, but just a matter of, who and when. Um, at least from my point of view, and I know talking with Honored, he was like, "Yeah, no, I get it." Um, in terms of whether we ever have more than 3 people, we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate there. I think it's really dependent on style. Oh, I forgot what the other thing that I wanted to do, which was add music to the back of those. Um, Sorry, this is very unrelated to everything we were talking about right now.
No, 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 you're good.
In terms of additional folks coming on board, I think it's an option that's on the table, though it really depends on who they are and let me add this in real quick.
And logistics, because I mean, logistics with
Yeah.
2 people was hard enough. Logistics with 3 people is already, sometimes a challenge, right?
Yeah.
So, but no, I mean, the beauty of the game and the beauty of the system, right, is there's no player limit. It's just a matter of, whether it's feasible and whether it makes sense. So,
All right, so season arc 7 is gonna have 100 players. Uh, we have no
I
limit.
mean, you jest, but I have thought about a way of having. What if I just had a bunch of folks in one episode? I've thought about this, so it is not out of the realm of possibility for an episode to have like 60 different voices. This is a large number, probably not that many, but like a large number of voices.
It's a lot of voices.
if you think Not a Scratch will not have a 1 versus 100 style episode, you are sorely mistaken. Is that a game show that like anyone else watched?
I have
Or is
no
it just
idea.
me? Oh, sad.
Sorry, I just stepped away to make sure that the music was at a good volume. That would be a
Man,
lot
am
of
I the
editing.
only- am I-
yes.
Am I the only one who watched 1 versus 100?
I did see that.
like,
I
ever?
know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I
All
know
right.
what you're
Okay. I was like, oh man, is it just me?
No, I stepped away for a bit. That's why I couldn't answer. But yes,
No,
I
no,
have.
no, I know.
I have seen one verse.
Quality game show.
It would be a lot of editing with that.
It would
many
be a lot of
people,
editing.
That is so right. Oh, I
Um,
would never see the light of day.
Next question comes from an interesting user named Daisy May. I'm spoilers. I wonder who that could be.
Oh, what? Who did that?
That's wild. Arc 5 Q&A. Spoilers again. At this point, I think everyone that's listening kind of has the gist. Oh yeah, but this is spoiler content. Having played through a whole arc as one GM and one player, what do you feel was the hardest part, enjoyable part, and or something you learned that you give as advice to anyone wanting to try something similar? So, sort of building off of what we were just talking about. Mohammed, your thoughts?
I think as one player, one GM, any sort of like 2-person TTRPG experience, there has to be like a very strong buy-in on both ends of, in terms of like, the story and the objective of the story and the story you're trying to tell, like where are we going, where are we taking this, what are we trying to do, which for the first 4 arcs of the show we didn't necessarily need, because there was it was another player, and I feel like me and Mansoor could kind of take turns in terms of working with Ottaru to build the world. Like I didn't have to be on 100% of the time as a player and 100% bought in as a player, and which, I mean, to be fair, right, like that's less than optimal for any setting, but
Mhm.
it really comes out in a 1-to-1 setting. So for me, that was kind of a difficult part. In terms of the easy part, I mean, it's easy to find time to do things because you're only working with one other calendar.
Mhm.
But I mean, if that's the only benefit, then like, is it really worth it?
Yeah, I think if I and obviously we wouldn't be able to guess this when we started the entire show, but if I had developed the story and connection as a one-with-one type of campaign, so if I started off thinking this was going to be one GM, one player, I think the style and the way the story goes would have been different, but I think it would have fit better, because this was us adapting on the fly to it went from there are two main characters in the story to there is one main character in the story. And so all of the split that could occur, if you didn't want to focus on one character, you could focus on the other, or vice versa. Because if you go back to all the previous arcs, there are certain sections that I feel like are Ralph episodes or Kyle episodes, because they
Yeah.
talk more. There's more stuff that happens to them, as opposed to arc 5, which is every episode is a Kyle episode, whether Kyle's on, whether Kyle's off, just like most people are in general day-to-day life. Whether you're at your peak or not, it's a Kyle episode. And if the story was developed so that Kyle was the main character, then that's fine. But inherently, it's not. It's just the story is developed as a recruits are the main character, and then Kyle just happens to be the lens that we're looking it through. Which
At the very least, that's how the story ended up developing, right?
Mhm.
From the way that we played the first few arcs. That it put Kyle in the spotlight when Kyle was not in the spotlight for that long of a stretch of time at once.
Mhm.
So as much as I'm sure people would love to see Kyle a lot as a character, I think there are more interesting things in the world of Not a Scratch to explore. That's just me.
Yeah. I mean, I mostly asked the question because I come from doing podcasts where the entire premise is just two people. So it
Yeah,
was really cool
yeah.
to see you all go on to that as well. And I thought you did fine. I thought you did great. You kind of heel turned pretty quickly and got into that groove, but I don't know.
Because I think
I mean, we found a rhythm that ended up working, but I think it was so different from what the show had already been that it didn't feel right in a way, at least on my end.
yeah, I think you could feel the shift. I think, and not necessarily good or bad shift, but you could feel the shift between the one GM the 2-player game versus the 1-player game. Not to bring up not to bring up sleeping shows, but Operation E-Clock, the other show that I do put this in quotations, is different because that is inherently designed as a 1 GM 1 player type of thing. But the spice in that is that the player shifts all the time, so you don't have to
Right.
worry about the potential dullness that could exist if you had one player existing for, I don't know, 20 episodes, like a season of Not a Scratch normally is. Because with that, it's maybe 3 to 6 episodes for one person, and then after that, they're gone. The next person comes in. So
What Otter is trying to say is it is not entertaining for him or the audience when I am the only player for that long, and I 100% agree with that sentiment.
I
100%,
I think
I 100% agree.
I think you and I, if we were to start a campaign or a story where it was me the GM or you the player and you the player, or vice versa, if you were the GM and I was the player, we could design it could work, but we'd have to start it that way. And I don't think because we didn't start it that way, that's where the issue is. I think you could hold your own as a player by yourself.
Dude,
if we didn't make the story so much about, if we didn't make the story so much about this,
Spotlight. That's another reason I wanted another player on the show, because I don't do Spotlight. Nah, like that's not me.
I
yeah.
don't know. I mean, there are things that you and I know that nobody else knows where we had some one player. You'd think you could take the spotlight pretty well.
Okay, but I mean that setting was very different.
Was not maybe continuous, but
Also like that wasn't me Spotlight. That was collaborative Spotlight. Like I could share the Spotlight. That's fine. Like if I'm in the Spotlight with someone else, cool. If I'm in the Spotlight on my own, nah, that's not me.
fair enough.
I will share the Spotlight if I'm needed to, but like if I could just be backstage, like that's cool. That's my energy. I feel like.
All right, let's go to the next.
And arc 4 was just like, here. It beams in the face. Have fun.
Eli with the next question, Arc 5 Q&A. Again, we're still back in January. I asked people questions way too early. Some going back, years ago.
Okay, but also like Arc 5 was nearing the final stretch. So
It was supposed to be ending a while ago, yes.
yeah.
So Arc 5, this is a question directed at me, because I'm pretty sure you two can't answer this. Is the Mew Room really a place in the real world? Don't expect to actually get an answer, but figured it couldn't hurt to try. Yes, Eli, Arc 5 was supposed to end back in March. I don't know if I explicitly stated that, or if you just calculated that back, but yeah, it probably was supposed to end like 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Anyway, is the Mew Room a real place in the real world? Rigel asks, "Does for Arc 5 Q&A, does the everyone
Yeah, no, go ahead, keep going.
is,
We
well, no,
all
is,
knew.
is the Mew
We
Room a
all knew
place-
that was the deal.
Well, okay, now is the Mew Room really a place in the real world?
I mean, I think it depends on what you define as the real
Yeah,
world.
define real world, because we
Fine
we
Mew
have
Room.
we have established that in order to reach the Mew Room, you have to be in your dream, like in the dream world setting.
Mhm.
So, if you consider that a real world thing, then perhaps I will say this: Kyle's room and Ralph's rooms are their rooms, and part of the reason. Okay, so Eli clarifies real world as in not dream world. I will actually answer this. I will answer this with an indirect answer. Ralph's room and Kyle's room are basically like copy and pasted from their actual bedrooms. And part of the reason why that's
but not directly their actual.
but not directly their actual bedrooms. The idea behind that being like it is a location that I recognize and I'm comfortable with. It's a place that I can go and I know what it looks like. And it's implied that the other rooms are similar sort of areas. So if you go to Isaac, the Pokemon that keeps switching between forms, I think they're Vanillite, but maybe they're Vanillix.
What?
I don't know what they
I
are.
think they were always a Vanillix.
I
thought-
I'm almost positive I have said Vanillite at one point in my life. Anyway, they are the middle one. To confirm that right now, are they the middle one? Who knows? Whatever one they're on the wiki right now, that's my new canon.
I thought they were. Wait. Oh, okay. Well, wild.
Probably, because that's probably the more right. Regardless of that, Isaac, for example, is if you they've been Vanillite all the time. Thank you, Eli, for clarifying. Yes, okay, so they're Vanillite. I don't know which one in the order they are because my Unova knowledge is buns.
That's
but
middle.
That's middle one. Oh, great.
That's middle.
They've been a Vanillite this entire time. So Vanillite, for example, we've entered his room, I think, briefly once. That's the first one, Vanillite.
I'm pretty sure.
No, I thought Vanillish was the first one.
No, it's the first one. It's Vanillite, Vanillish, Vanillux.
Oh,
Vanillite's
Because
the
it's
first
light.
one.
It's light like a baby.
I always thought it went ish. Lux. But yeah, no. Oh.
Isaac, to go back to the point. Isaac, we've entered his room
Ice
once.
cream.
Yeah, the ice cream kid. We've entered his room once before, and it's like this, basically, ice cavern. I think we described it as, and it's implied that that's either his home or his hideout or some area that he's comfortable with. So presumably, if you were to follow the same order of logic over, to the Mew room, which is technically Adam's room, it is a location that Adam is very comfortable with and fully understands and everything like that. Is that necessarily the case? Is it because it's the Mew room, it's something that's higher, it overrides Adam's thoughts? We'll get to that if we get to that. I don't really have an answer for that, so that's part of my reason.
I think the two salient points that are, canonically true that make this an interesting conversation and like an interesting discussion of like, hold on, is it actually a real place or based on a real place? Is one, we have seen people go from dream world to real world multiple times in multiple different ways, right? And either like existed like a dream copy of real world or like have been in this real world location like through their dream world like somehow, right? We've seen it happen. Two, we have seen the Mew room in the past, and it's the same. So I think those are two interesting canonical points to keep in mind when trying to answer this question, to which Honoru does not have an answer.
I know. Yeah,
Because
this
Mew
is
room-
nothing in the show has an actual answer.
that's partly true. Yeah.
Wouldn't the Mew room just be a little bit of every room in existence?
If we could,
That could be
that
that could be why it exists in that form.
That could
right?
be.
Because Mew is a little bit of every Pokemon.
Fair point there. So Eli, that's the closest answer I can get. It's not something that I planned out. It's now that I've thought about it, it is something that will probably have an answer at some point. Whether it matters and will be answered remains to be seen. But it's an interesting question, yeah. Because I've sort of hinted at both.
They're just
answers.
gonna pull up to an island and there's gonna be a gazebo in a forest. It's gonna be like, wait, what?
Basically. Move on. Rigel, their question. Does the everyone is a vegetarian argument hold any water when they're grass Pokemon, and specifically Pokemon like Sunflora, Shroomish, Cherubi, Florges, Bounsweet, Smoliv? Short answer, yes, everyone is a vegetarian, because Pokemon are alive. Long answer, go check out Pika Science. That's another podcast that I assist with. Somewhere down the line there, I think recently there have been episodes about like our Pokemon plants or our Pokemon animals. I think there's one that's relatively recently came out that goes into much more detail about whether Pokemon are alive or plants or not plants. For simplicity's sake, I just say everyone's vegetarian because that's the easiest way to think about it. That's the answer. That's all I got.
Is there a vegetable Pokemon?
I mean,
Is there a grass type that is a vegetable?
Cow olives?
Oh, yeah.
and there's like Applin in that line that are like
Okay,
fruits.
But that's not the Pokemon. That's just
Yeah,
this little.
That's
this little
here's the thing.
apple.
Here's the thing. Is Applin is
Applin's
the
a
apple
worm, isn't
part
it?
of Applin, or is Applin the worm?
It is a
Right.
worm.
But then when it evolves, right, its body becomes either the apple pie or like the apple rind, right? And like those are still apple or apple product, but they're also its body now. It's like
If you eat too much apple, do you become apple?
mean,
Anybody
I
got
th-
some iPhones?
I think there's also I think more so the grass types, there are fairy types that raise the interesting question as well, right? With stuff like, sword, like stuff like Alcremie, right?
Or like Vanillish? Vanillite.
Vanillite.
I mean, yeah. Okay, but also like that's just like blocks of ice, and like blocks of ice have been Pokemon. Because I think it just looks like ice cream. I don't think it's actually like cream, right? Its body.
Yeah, I think it's pure ice or something like that.
I think it's just ice, like Cryogonal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
The
But Pokemon
yeah, so-
camouflaging as food seems like an evolutionary nightmare, but hey.
But yeah, that's the closest I can get. Mainly because it's one of those things like if you think too hard about it, then it starts to not make any sense anymore. So that's why the everyone is vegetarian. It's the same. What is it? It's not a thing that they do these days, but like in early Pokemon episodes, there are cows and there's milk tanks, and those are two separate things. That's
Mhm.
a similar line that we're going down here. They don't do that anymore, as far as I remember. But yes,
Cannot
there are
catch a
cows
cow in a
and there are
Pokeball.
milk tanks and various other. So there are olives and there are Smolives. Olives.
I mean, there
don't
are
move.
berries, and then there are grass types that like bear fruit.
Yeah, there are
right?
berries
Like,
and there's Cherubi. Like two different lines.
yeah.
That's the hope, at least, for fear of trying to worry about that. Cool. Let's go to the next question from Fennec. Technically, this is an Arc 4 question, but was there a lore reason why Ralph could understand Oldish and Kyle couldn't? I know they had a roll for it, but is there an in-universe justification for it? Loosely, my in-lore version for this, and we could probably reach out to Mansoor if he agrees or disagrees with this. My reasoning for this, kind of in-lore, for some random reason, we made Ralph a poet back in like the Boat Saga. He was making haikus and random things like that. So my lore reason is that through the power of poetry, he's understanding this universe is equivalent to Latin, and Kyle just doesn't have an interest in Latin as of now, at least. I don't know. Maybe in the future you'll understand Oldish, but that's my random, ridiculous reason. I'm not sure if either of you have any thoughts about that as I scroll down, but I'm not sure. If
I
there's
mean, my internet cut out and I did not hear the answer, and I feel like that's exactly the way it should be.
Perfect.
It's because in the background I was whispering into his ear the whole time.
Yeah, it's actually Daisy this entire time. That new Oldish. That's my real.
Not my
That's-
character, just me.
Just Daisy. Daisy understands Oldish. Arc 5 Q&A. Before I click on the spoiler tag here, partly asking because Anaru said that it wouldn't be explained till the Q&A, meaning it will be something he'll answer, right? With that said, why did Manaphy choose the Ruby Charm? Why did Manaphy choose the Ruby Charm?
Because the dice wanted to stress me out, I think is the entire answer there, right?
Yeah. Is there an in-lore? Do I have a lore reason?
Because we rolled for that, right?
We did. We had some. You made it a roll, I think. I think I asked you to choose, and then you rolled the dice.
Yeah, you asked me to choose, and I was like, I don't want to choose. Let the dice choose. And the dice chose, and I think part of the justification we gave was like, oh man, if he has a little red thing on it, and that's a little red thing, and then cool. I don't know if there's any real rhyme or reason to it. Is it gonna come back to bite us in the butt? Absolutely.
I will say there is a lore reason, and I will also say it'll probably show up next arc. I don't guarantee anything, but I will. The reasoning probably will show up next arc. I think if plans go correct, it'll show up next arc. Now plans never go correct, so that's my caveat here, but that's what I'm gonna go with.
That's not at all terrifying.
Next question from Eli. How easy or hard is it to make or obtain a teleport gem? There's a recipe somewhere, but yeah, Eli. So it means it'll be revealed in Arc 7, basically. How easy or hard is it to make or obtain a teleport gem? It's not coded into the system, but teleport gems do exist. Because Snow's used it in the past. I think that's probably where the question's coming from.
Was that a gem or was that a?
It's like
an orb.
It's different than an orb. It's smaller than an orb. Snow used it. Snow used it effectively to transport you.
Snow did use one.
Yeah, Snow used one way back in. Would it be Arc 1 then? Arc 1.
No, it was Arc 1. Yeah.
To flash you guys effectively from New Birch to Shady Grove, rather than walk your way back. It was something I think that was. I think the in-lore logic is that it was sent to her as like, if you choose to accept, smash this, and boom, you'll show up at our guild, rather than, because if it's somebody that's all the way on the other side of the continent, you can just flash yourself over. There's a recipe somewhere for legal reasons. I won't explain what it is, but legal reasons. For lore reasons, I won't explain what it is, but there's a recipe somewhere. I will say it's complicated, but there's a recipe somewhere.
Legal reasons, because it's illegal to have one.
It's legal. I'm assuming it's a controlled substance. There we go. That's down that list of things. Let's move on to the next one.
It's well regulated.
It's a regulated item, yes. Arc 5 Q&A. Eli asks, why did you choose Hoopa to be the big bad of the show? A very, very good question. Part of it is it made sense for Hoopa to be the big bad because of the legendaries and mythicals. Hoopa fits into that category, and I wanted to choose something that wasn't obvious. So, Darkrai is a very obvious one, especially if you played the Mystery Dungeon games. Darkrai is, the spoilers here, literal bad guy of one of them, specifically that second generation one. It's the final bad guy. So I didn't want to choose Darkrai and be like, oh, look, he's doing the sky thing again. And also I thought Hoopa would be fun. Hoopa's a character a Pokemon that I don't typically deal with too much, because I never use it in the gameplay. I don't think I have a Hoopa on any of my games or anything like that. and other reasons that won't be explained. But Hoopa fit the show, I think. Let's move on to, because none of these questions I think you can answer, guys, unless you've got a reason why I chose Hoopa.
I'll just interrupt. I don't care.
This is very just niche for me, but it's because in Pokemon Unite, for a very brief stint, Hoopa was very overpowered, and that is why Hoopa is evil. Hoopa is no longer overpowered.
Moving on
As
to the
is
next,
seen by Kyle's triumphs over Hoopa.
yeah. Next question here from Kurdos. When will we see Yveltal? Is there a proper pronunciation for this? I've heard so many different. Yveltal.
I think it's Yveltal.
Yveltal. When will we see
According
Yveltal?
to the X and Y anime.
All right, cool. Because we know the anime is great when it comes to pronunciation of names. Yveltal.
I mean, to be fair, the anime is pretty consistent.
It's consistent. I don't know if it's always accurate, but maybe
I
now
can't
this
think
is
of many
better.
Pokemon that are mispronounced. At least, nowadays, Gen 1 anime was a mess, and we all know. But
And that's why we love it.
it's like the Gen 1 games.
yes.
Excuse me.
You can't sit here and say Red and Blue were the epitome of coding genius.
I think the fact that Mew is in the game is part of the reason that there's coding genius. Mew is not supposed to be in the game because they didn't have enough space. That's why you can only get it with a glitch. They snuck it in.
They just slid it right underneath. We have an extra
Yeah.
KB. Let's just kind of plop it in there. Sorry.
Bro, do you know how much a kilobyte is on a Game Boy cartridge?
That's true.
Dude,
That's true. I'm going by
dude,
these days, too.
we had an extra 64 bytes lying
We had
around.
an extra
There's
literal byte, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, Mew is a snack.
Anyway, so Arc 5 Q&A question. When will we see Yveltal, and can we name it Lord Bacon? When will we see it? When it shows up. For most, I don't expect Yveltal to be a major part of the story, unless these guys go to the underworld and try to find Hades or something like that. Can we name it Lord Bacon? Probably not. I'm not going a bold thing there, mainly because all of the other legendaries are by their actual names. They don't have first name, last name type of thing. They're just Celebi, Dialga, etc. So,
Are you telling me that if we name Yveltal Lord Bacon, it can become a player character?
I am neither confirming nor denying anything.
Oh no. Oh no, we're gonna break on Rude.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Sorry, I have to change my character at last minute.
Arc 6 starts and we've got Kyle the Trico. It's Rose, right? I keep
Yeah.
missing. Yeah, Rose the Audino, and then Lord Bacon the Yveltal. Yes.
It's actually just been Adam the whole time.
It's been Adam. We have a Trico and Audino and the God of Death with us. Good luck with it.
Have fun.
Next question for the Arc 5 Q&A. When will we see the Boston-Chicago Piplup again? This has been a fan favorite character and a fan favorite question. I'm pretty sure this is asked later on as well. When will we see them again? Look, we know where they live, right? We know where he lives. So if you go there, then maybe.
Okay, all right. Say less. Say less. I understand the assignment.
Was that a threat?
No, this is not a threat. This is Kyle about to take a sharp right turn for no reason.
I know where you live,
actual-
Piplup.
Actually, in the direction we're going, no, actually, it would be a right turn. Yeah. It would be more of a U-turn than anything. But
Basically, this is Kyle being like, "Hey, we got progress in our story. Let's just pause it real quick. I got to go back to an area I haven't been in 2 years."
I mean, you say that like you'd have an issue with it.
I don't have an issue with it, but I also
There we go.
technically speaking, I don't really care if the story ends with a success or a failure. As long as the story ends, we're good. Now, I feel like you
Let
might
the
want
world end. We need Piplup.
that's your new motivation now. You can't let the world explode, not because of saving everybody. or
Bro,
anything like that, but this
listen,
Chicago, Boston.
in universe, this story's only been going for like 2 months. There's time.
Yeah, I think officially speaking, it's been 2.5 months, which is you are very productive, Draco.
2.5 months. 1.5 of which happened in the last like arc and a half.
Yeah,
Like back half of arc 3, arc 5.
yeah, because we were definitely speeding things up there.
Make less progress is just a Trico.
All right, next question from Jonathan. They ask, oh, good, it's a question that's on for me. After everything Kyle has been through at this point, does he still love drawing as much as he used to back in Arc Zero, and does he still have his favorite stick?
He still has a stick. We've seen it like occasionally. It has not seen the spotlight as much as it probably ought to have.
That's a real
terms of
character we
whether-
want back. Forget the Piplup. I want the stick back.
just the stick. In terms of whether he loves drawing or not, not like Kyle's had a lot of downtime. Like I'm sure like in the little pockets of downtime Kyle's had, like he's been, doing the occasional doodle here or there. Like he was doing some illustration work for Zendoran that he was enjoying, right? But like the downtime isn't there in a way that it was, early on. I think as Kyle's grown into, oh yeah, I'm, kind of sort of driving the boat. I'm driving the bus for the recruits here. As Kyle's become that bus driver, the drawing's kind of taken a backseat. Doesn't mean he doesn't love it.
Good answer. And going Family Feud on us here. Another question.
I thought you were gonna make a remark about the bus driver comment, but fair enough.
No, you have been driving the bus all right. Leads us to wonder, everybody else on that bus, could they carry? Could they carry? Could they? Real questions. Another question from Jonathan here. An interesting question. Did Ralph become a shiny at the end of Arc 4 during the final battle? Did he become a shiny? I hate to answer this way. I think the answer is no. I think because that would be a fundamental change of Ralph internally, right? I'm assuming shiny versus not shiny is genetic speaking.
Yes, it is.
So I can't say he was a shiny. I will say he sparkled.
Dude had 2 extra arms. Like, what more can we ask?
Well, yeah, he basically through the power of his Arceus wish, just auto jumped full EV, IV, everything that you need to level 100, fully evolved, and slapped a dark
Hacks.
He literally hacked himself. That's what Arceus does. Arceus allows you to hack legally, among various other things. But officially answering, no, Ralph did not become a shiny. Another question. This is going way back. When Ralph and Kyle were getting the rundown about the recruits from Isaac and Mrs. Quagmire, Mrs. Quagmire was writing on the board in an, at the time, unknown language. Is the language she was writing in Oldish? The answer is yes. I don't know if she probably knew it. But yes, that's how long ago Oldish has existed. I've talked about this before. Oldish, if you want to count just things that are in this system, and the oldest thing from that, Oldish as a language is the first thing created. Now, this was created a decade ago, before this show was even, a glimmer in my eye. But yeah, the Oldish, first thing I've ever created for that eventually turned into the show. And yes, she was writing in Oldish, the unknown language that's there. Oldish has shown up occasionally throughout, and then especially when we went back to the past, and then even now, yes, writing in Oldish. Writing the only word that Kyle knows at this point, which I think is portal, I think.
Yeah.
It's an unknown language? Unknown. They're real.
I mean, are unknown real? That's an interesting question.
I don't know if we've met an unknown yet, but
I don't
We'll have
think
to
we
see.
have. Yeah.
That was the true purpose. We were actually supposed to go find all the unknown and
Oh,
solve
no.
the language.
Let me see. I'm just going through all these spoiler tags. While I'm going through this, Mohammed, do you have any questions for Daisy or vice versa? Basically, have you two talk while I stare at this.
Yeah, ask me questions. Hello, I'm here.
Wait, I've been put on the spot. Um, um, I think instead of me, I feel like if the people listening in live have any questions for you that we haven't gotten to yet, I'm sure there's going to be duplicates later. I feel like that's as good a shout as any.
That's very true.
You know, this is we gotta let the people, you know, get their questions answered. You know.
If you have your questions, I will try to answer. But I can't reveal any of the secret background game knowledge that I've planned the whole time. Because I've actually been running the show.
Yeah. No, like this is the difference, right? Like Kyle's driving the bus in story, but like really, like I don't have any control over this. Daisy's been puppet mastering this.
Yes. I've merely told Honoru what to do.
Yeah, y'all thought like, you know, some of like, you know, the NPCs, y'all thought like maybe like me and Mansoor were puppets. Like no, Honoru's been the puppet this whole time.
Very true.
But I will say, it's not a lie that I have been here the whole time because we were talking about it. I think it's still the Twitter banner for Not a Scratch. That's me.
believe so. Yeah, that is Daisy.
I did that,
Yeah.
so I've been here, just subtly influencing. I'm not an artist, but I still did it.
Yeah.
But I'm not an artist.
No, not that kind.
Let me just move that over, that there. Perfect. Great. Another question from Evelyn, which is an interesting question. Mohammed and Daisy, you'll probably know the latter half of this because I don't quite. I mean, I do, but I don't. So, will there ever be a sequel to Not a Scratch? And if so, how will you make sure you don't bungle it like The Legend of Korra? I'm assuming Legend of Korra after Avatar was as bad as people say.
I have
Well-
thoughts, and I don't fully agree, but that's okay.
Okay. I will say this. The two main reasons why people feel like Legend of Korra was a letdown compared to The Last Airbender was because one, the target audience shifted, but people didn't really want to recognize that. Two, they only got the green light arc by arc, so they didn't have the ability to make the overarching story that The Last Airbender did. Right, The
That's
Last
the big one.
Airbender was 3 seasons able to make this long cohesive story. Korra got 13 episodes at a time. So they were like, well, we got to wrap up what we're trying to tell in 13 episodes. It's like, oh, you have 13 more. It's like, well, okay, we didn't think of what we were going to tell after this, right?
They really gaslit the writers on that. They said you're gonna have
Yeah.
one show, one season, do it, and then after that they're like, all right, now do another one.
Yeah,
Oh.
no, it's like make money machine print, and they were like, but content, and they were like, we don't care, we're Nickelodeon.
That being said, though, I do own the Avatar Legends tabletop role-playing game, which, if it's not a direct sequel to Not a Scratch, then I still would love to run that game.
We're at least, I was gonna say we're at least doing that for like Patreon bot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So long story short, Legend of Korra kind of bungled itself.
You know, all
via-
that is to say, the two big issues with Legend of Korra, I don't think will apply to a Not a Scratch sequel.
Yeah.
That being said, Honoru, you answered the first part.
Yeah. Will there be
Yeah.
a sequel to Not a Scratch? It's an interesting question. Depending on how this story ends, then Oh, that's a good point. Let me hold you all on that. Apparently, Twitch has decided now is the time for an ad break. So for us here, um, if you need to
I
grab
did see a
water, guys,
giant Dorito and it scared me.
if you
What's
want
wrong
to,
with Dorito? Hey, listen, a giant Dorito just wants to be your friend.
Nothing wrong with it. I was just not expecting to look up and see a huge Dorito.
But it just wants to be a friend.
It was quite shocking. And now they'll probably have to catch up to that too.
so I kind of do want to wait to answer the question. Grab that there.
I know you've talked about having a lot of plans, but like, are those specifically thoughts on sequels, or just are there various stories?
So I think it really depends on how and when this story ends. Because I have thought, I'll say it because it's not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. I have thought, like, if you guys are able to end the story and it's like October, then I've thought, like, oh, you saved the day. But guess what? The world exploding wasn't about this natural disaster. It's about that one. Insert sequel here, and it's like, oh, the prophecy was about that one. Yeah, something like that. If it does take the full year, and you save the day, and it's like, countdown, the classic, dangerous situation where you have to cut the wire, and it's like 1 second remaining, and you save the day. I do have sequel stories. I have loosely thought of. I have this story, which is decently planned out. I have the next threat, which is not as thought of. And then I have another threat after that. That is purely in the idea phase. So, going back to the question at hand, because will there be a sequel to Not a Scratch? Yes and no. It'd be more like Campaign 2. And whether or not it's the same characters or it's different characters, it could be a situation where it's same heroes and it's in their timeline, or we've sort of established recruits have existed all the time. It could be the next set of recruits or an older set of recruits that are dealing with their own set. That's really up to the players at that point, because I can sort of adapt the story to fit whatever age we're in.
Not a Scratch, Legends something.
Basically, Not a Scratch, Legends of the Scratch or something like that.
I was just thinking, like, if this game was like centered around what, like Celebi, Hoopa or whatever, it's like Not a Scratch, Legends Kiriti.
Exactly, yeah, something like that. So, and if so, how will you make sure you don't bungle it? Part of it is the insistence, and this has been a loose rule that I haven't needed to break by any, or I couldn't break by any sense, and it hasn't made sense to break it. But the rule effectively is that if I am the GM, it's canon. If I'm not the GM, it's not canon. Now, there hasn't been a situation where I haven't been the GM, I think. So all those side episodes that you've seen where I bring in random people to do one-shots, those count. They just are happening at a different, or at the same time or at a different time that Kyle's going through his adventure. Like, if you flash forward to another side of the world, obviously other people are doing other things that don't know who Kyle and Ralph and Rose are. So if going forward, I have thought about this, it's really just sort of an application thing. And I think with Daisy being a longer term GM, because Mohammed, you're not a huge GMer in general.
Not particularly, no.
Yeah. And I don't think Mansoor was a GM type of guy either.
No, Mansoor was.
He was? Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Because he had done GM things. So maybe Mansoor could've...
I say this was past.
Yeah. But Daisy being a GM with years of experience, I'm more willing to just either canonize or not canonize, like hand over the GM baton for one-shots, smaller stories, and things like that. But to answer the latter part, how would you make sure you don't bungle it? I know when I want this to end, and will probably give us all time to wind it down, as opposed to the season by season, arc by arc sort of thing. So this is the difference there. Um, this next question, I have to look this up. So Eli's next question asks, I don't think it's been clarified yet, so which form has Hoopa been in whenever they've appeared? They have been in the confined form this entire time. That's a little like a smiley one. They've been confined.
Yeah, I don't
this
think
time.
we've seen Unbound once.
Unbound has not shown up yet.
I would just like to imagine it's been just huge Hoopa this entire time. And we just haven't mentioned it.
If
That'd
I
be
was
even more-
clowning on Unbound Hoopa this entire time, like,
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
sorry, there is no threat. Like, the stakes are just gone.
Unless Hoopa becomes stronger when you bind.
The more you
Hoopa's been
suppress it,
wearing
the more
weighted
power it
ankles
has.
all the time.
Evelyn, another question. Does Ralph ever meet Snow again in the new timeline? That's an interesting question.
I don't know if the question is meet Snow again, meet Snow ever.
Does Ralph ever meet Snow in the new timeline? There
I don't know.
hasn't been an instance where I can think Ralph and Snow would be in the same place at the same time to meet in the first place. So I don't know.
Because like we established that Ralph like did not go the guild route at all. Like not even like joined a different guild or did it like Ralph just like
Said
went
nah,
to
I'm
the
good.
guild Ralph went to the guild tryouts. I was like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yep,
So
Perhaps the fates align.
perhaps.
I mean perhaps, but
There's also a decent, and again, this is me sort of like allowing the shadows to exist. Snow, I don't think would mention Ralph to Kyle at all because I doubt Snow would know Ralph and Kyle are classmates, right? We've established that Thunder Tree City is a
Yeah.
bigger city, so if Snow met Ralph and was like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing? I'm great, cool, fun conversation." Walk away. Snow's probably not going to be like, "Hey, Kyle, this is wild. I met a kid who was our age in this city." That you may or may not be from, because I don't think Kyle's been like, yeah, my name is Kyle, I'm from Thunder Tree City.
yeah, no. I don't know if Snow even knows. Snow might know that Kyle's from Thunder City just from them being, part of the Bronze Roses together, conversing. But
Yeah,
like,
but it's,
they're both from big cities. Like, they're both from big cities, so they both understand that you don't know everyone from your city.
mhm. It'd be
And
like,
it's not,
if, yeah,
and it's not like an obscure big city. It's not like if Arud was like, hey, I met someone else from central Massachusetts. Like, whoa, right?
right,
Like,
exactly.
it's like someone in Minneapolis being like, hey, I met someone in St. Paul. It's like, okay, cool.
Exactly, yeah. But have they met? Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. Who knows? This is where I hesitate to say this, but I think I'm trusting you guys not to be the stereotypical type of person like this. But this is where the fanfics take over. Y'all figure out what you want to do with this. Okay, we haven't.
All it takes is an O.
All it takes is no. Yeah, just somewhere else.
My hands are clean of this one. I've listen. I did what I did, and now I'm no longer involved. Don't look at me.
Another question from
Have
Evelyn here. Another question from Evelyn. Have you ever considered using ChatGPT to generate ideas for the podcast? I don't know if either of you two have. More for Mohammed than Daisy. I don't know if you
Don't
could, in terms of, unless you want to like
I am,
ChatGPT.
I am going to keep quiet because if I start on my rant, we will be here for an hour.
Short answer is no, only because I am fully confident my ideas are ridiculous enough as is, and I don't. ChatGPT might have legit ideas, and I don't want to have any of those. So.
I'm. Okay. Nope. I'm good.
Mohammed.
Nope.
Stay in the court.
Nope.
All right,
Nope,
go
nope.
go dribble a basketball over there. Stay calm. Don't dribble. Go think happy thoughts. Okay. Winning season for the Celtics.
No, that's more stressful.
I also have not been keeping up with the chat. Dreamgate, possible important that the word you gave in the show was Dreamgate. Eli, could you remind me what this was about? I assume it's an older question.
I think the oldish that Miss.
Yeah, the oldish phrase or
Quagmire
something.
was-
Oh, okay.
right.
Then yeah, Dreamgate's probably whatever that term was. If it's Dreamgate, Dreamgate actually sounds familiar as well. There's no. I don't think it's ever set in stone, and I don't think there's gonna be. the way the language is, if you were to break it down and figure out like the syntax for it, doesn't have syntax, so it can be whatever you want it to be. I mean, there's rules, but the rules don't make sense. But Dreamgate, yeah, that's probably the official word. Again, that's the only word that Kyle knows because he can use that to auto Dreamworld himself.
Yeah.
It wasn't about Hoopa destroying the world. It's actually a meteor coming to destroy the world. Yeah, I'll just keep doing that until the year ends.
Oh no, another meteor.
And this is a legit idea-free podcast. Yes, no real ideas here. We want the dumber the better. Next question from Jonathan. Since Wigglytuff is your favorite, is Sindoran your signature character, like your OC? Well, you're the DM, PM, GM, they're all your OCs, but I'm asking is Sindoran more special because he's a Wigglytuff? No, I think... Is there an OC for me? I don't know if
Like,
there
is there an
Is there an
character
Anaru in
that
the show?
would be your PC?
So Sindoran, by the way, is named after an actual person that I know. He used to run the original Roaring Trainers show, and did a couple of other shows as well. So Sindoran was the character name for him on the Roaring Trainers, and I asked him, could I use his name, and he was cool with it. The Wigglytuff thing, I think, kind of just fit in because of the way that I had set it up. Wigglytuff fit in. I don't know if there is a character that would be me, per se. Because there's a lot of characters that have aspects of me. Like, you could argue Adam is that. But again, Adam to me is somebody else, because there's an actual Adam out there that this is very, very loosely based off. Like, the voice is sort of there, and that's about it. But I don't know if there's... Is there a character... I don't think there's an Anaru in the show. Maybe you guys would know. Muhammad, you particularly. Hoopa, again, Hoopa's like portions of me. I don't think I'm completely evil. I think I'm partially evil.
I mean, I think for me, it's weird to think about because, like, it's not like Anaru, like there, it's like, oh, what character would Anaru play? Well, he could play any of them, right? Like, he plays all of them, so...
Yeah.
I don't know if you were actually like playing the game, what character you choose. Because I feel like, again, right, like there's justification for all of it.
Yeah.
Maybe someone needs to, make a tier list, make a ranking.
Oh, that's
Which
fine.
characters are the most Anaru? Someone put Anaru through that gauntlet. someone sit him down and make him do it.
Next question on the list. Evelyn asks, are you ever going to do a live episode of Not a Scratch? That's not out of the question. I think the only issue with live episodes are that in order to listen, you have to be caught up. Right? So it'd be tough to do, if we were to do Arc 6 Episode 1 live, we could, but we'd have to bank on enough people that have caught up to the show that are willing to listen at the specific time. And that's hard to do. And then it gets even more complicated the farther you go into a specific arc. So if we were to do...
Especially since we record episodes like well before they come out, right? Like if we were to do Arc 6 Episode 10 live, right? Like chances are, unless you're in like the highest tiers, I believe like Governor tier of Patreon, you have not heard or even had access to episodes 9, 8, or 7. So... And I think that's the big thing about kind of the workflow that we have that makes live episodes tough.
I think
if there's a large enough demand for it, we would toy with the idea of recording an entire arc live, like over the course of multiple weeks. But that's I think we're very far away from that point.
I think not spin-offs, but like one-shots, that sort of stuff, those could absolutely be live. And I think
that's why we do like Q&As live, right? Like we used to do Q&As offline, and we were like, well, you know what, we can just do this live. That's an extra element.
If also, I thought of another interpretation of this. Are you ever going to do a live as an in-person episode of Not a Scratch, whether for just simply for recording or for the live purposes. Similar sort of vein, I think. It just depends on if it fits the story or if it's a one shot. Who's going to be in the one shot? How does that one shot look?
Well, I mean, even if if we
Oh,
went
so,
on,
sorry.
like-
Evelyn confirms that later. Well, live is in person, like at a convention. Yeah, you guys want to go to a convention and just do a random one shot episode?
That takes a lot of logistics, but I don't know if I would be against it.
yeah, no, I mean, I think like in person, right? Like, I mean, it wouldn't be part of the main story, but like that would be cool to do. It's just a matter of we are 3 people who live in 3 different places. So
That being said, I think Patreon content would probably be easier to do as a live stream,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's usually not connected to anything else.
Yeah.
The
Next
main
question-
story
yeah.
can live in its own bubble.
Yeah, I think just based on how it is and the fact that we don't have the story technically hasn't ended, so it's hard to do like the first thing I'm thinking of, because I'm obsessed with Dimension 20, is like they do the Dimension 20. They had like the freshman year stuff, and then they could do in conventions like, oh, this is summer break. There's a random one shot, or here's some other story that occurred while the main characters were going on their journey, and you could have that done easily. It'd be harder to do on our end because it's all of this has occurred in 2.5 months, so you got to find a way to throw somebody else in there. But I think it's definitely possible, and I personally would love to do it. It's just a matter of logistics. Next question on the list from Governor Glaceon asks, have you watched the Mario movie? I'll first ask that. Have any of us seen the Mario movie? I have not.
I have not yet.
Okay. In that case,
you could check back in with me in a month, and the answer might be.
I probably will at some point, but I think I'm just personally not as much of a fan of Chris Pratt to watch it.
I just find the entire premise and everything just entertaining, right? Like I am gonna go watch the Mario movie for the same reason, to a much lesser degree, that I went to watch Space Jam: A New Legacy, because I just want to be entertained.
Yeah.
That's it.
So there you go. That's the answer. So I can't ask the latter half because it's if you have then something here that may or may not be spoilers. I actually don't know.
They
which-
win.
They probably win. Yeah, that's the bold take. Let's see. What do we got here? Another question from Evelyn. What holidays are celebrated in the Alcast region? All of them. Yeah, maybe, probably.
The holiday.
I don't think we've seen a holiday celebration yet, so like I don't know. I don't know.
Most of them. July 4th is not celebrated for obvious reasons. But I'm going to make the if there's a holiday, it's probably celebrated somewhere, and Kyle is too single-minded to celebrate any of them. That's why he's too focused on the
Okay.
task at hand to actually go take a break for Christmas or something.
Fair enough.
I mean, there could just be a lot of niche like holidays that are celebrated in each of the different like areas. I mean,
I think
not necessarily overarching things.
I think all of those, you know how like every single day seems to be a holiday. Like September 14th is Happy Throw Your Phone on the Ground Day or something like that. I'm going to say that was made up. That may not be. That's probably not real. But I'm going to assume I'm going to make the bold proclamation. This is not real, but I'm going to say it now anyway. All of those are not only real, they are heavily supported. And if you don't celebrate them, that's jail time. So there you go. Got to do all of them.
So Kyle's really just been on a run. this
Kyle's
whole
been
time.
on the run since the show began.
More or less.
Another question from Evelyn. Do all the states of the Alcast region have economic specialties? Yes. Most of them are probably not officially written and clearly devised out. But yeah, I do think if I were to spend enough time on this, they sort of touched on this a little bit. But a lot of it does have to do with the nature of the state itself. So Petrum is a perfect example. Petrum is your rock state, in effect, your Earth state, and so as a result, a lot of the exports are going to be Earth state-y. So jewelry, oil, stuff like that. Anything you dig in the ground and find, or dig up and find, probably in that state. Natura is much more nature-wise, so anything trees, I'm going to assume vegetation and farms and all that sort of stuff.
Like logging and all that.
Exactly. It's a similar sort of vibe. So, loosely speaking, yes. If we want to be more specific, that's probably something I could dive into. More specific would be something I personally dive into and then just randomly show up on the wiki at one point. But yes, all the states have their own economic systems. They're like most states. Florida's famous for chaos, and California has solar panels and all that stuff.
I thought you were gonna at least give Florida citrus, but nope, I agree. Okay, that's their export.
Yes.
There's some alright things in Florida. We don't hear a lot of the good stuff, though.
Another question from Evelyn.
No, I mean the pure existence of Florida, man, is also like kind of inherently a good. That's the conversation.
Yeah. Another question from Evelyn. In Arc 4, Episode 1, Celebi states they can't visit the same point in time twice. But special relativity states that which points in space-time are at the same time depends on the reference point, i.e. the velocity of the observer. How does special relativity affect which points in space-time Celebi can time travel to? Very great question. In fact, I'm writing my PhD about this. So, it's pretty straightforward. You see, Celebi can't see Celebi. That's kind of my ballpark here. To not use any terminology, but to attempt to answer the question here, Celebi is able to travel the timeline in a particular way that is just completely offset from how everybody else travels the timeline. So, Celebi is, if you were to watch Celebi from birth to death, effectively, from the beginning to the end, Celebi would slowly be getting older over time. You just would see them at random points. From our perspective, from Celebi's perspective, they're just going fine. It's just they're popping in and out at random points.
Yeah, it's like Celebi is on its own timeline, just
exactly
popping into the rest of the world's timeline in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Would it just be that Celebi has its own timeline, but doesn't have to experience it directly, like from start to end?
No, Celebi
experience the end of its timeline
well,
before.
So Celebi is, if you were to count the hours, effectively Celebi counting the hours that it survives knows, oh, I'm 1 day old, I am 1 week old, I am 1 month old, etc. It's just my day 5 was spent in the year 2000, but day 6 was spent in 1747, or something like that. So where on the
with Celebi, with Celebi's time travel, from Arc 3 episode last to Arc 5 episode 1, right? At the different points we see Celebi, right? At different points, in chronological time across the A and B timelines, right? We see it at different points chronologically, but in the order that things happen, right? That's the order that Celebi experienced them too.
Mm-hmm. I think it's sort of implied. The Celebi that takes you to the past is significantly younger than the Celebi that brings you back.
Yeah, how significantly that could be for Celebi, that whole arc, right? For Kyle and Ralph, that was what, a
couple weeks,
week or two, maybe a month, right?
Somewhere
for Celebi, that could have been an hour, a day, a year, 10 years, 100 years. Anywhere in that, right? Celebi could have been doing the most during that month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we just didn't see it. Or Celebi could have just been okay, let me just flash forward to when y'all are done with this and then move on with the rest of my day.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So Celebi Celebi has a timeline that makes sense to them, but doesn't make sense to everybody in this world, and that everybody in this world has a timeline that makes sense to them that doesn't make any sense to Celebi. So Celebi has that. Dialga is different. The way that it's not, I haven't stated this in the show, but it's not spoiling anything. So Celebi, the one downside with Celebi and the why they're the quote unquote weaker one is that they can't exist at the same time. So uh, for us regular folks, the time right now is 2 o'clock in the morning. It's September 12th. Celebi, if they are on this timeline right now, they can't be somewhere else at the same time. So they can't be talking to Kyle and talking to Rose at the same time if they're in two separate areas. Dialga is different. Dialga has the power to supersede that. So Dialga can be in multiple places at the same specific second. And that's why Dialga is Time Lord, while Celebi is Time Prince, I guess. Princess, whatever you want to call it. So where Dialga has the step above. And typically, if there are situations where Celebi can't be in the same place at the same time, then Dialga sort of like cleanses the timeline effectively so that Celebi can move back and forth. Or, worst case scenario, Dialga comes down and solves the problem on their own time, which means something bad's happening. But that is a loose answer to what Celebi is doing and how Celebi's life works. I hope that answers the question, Evelyn. I know I don't think you're live here, but hoping that helps.
Can we just reread the question one more time? Because I just want to see if this was an answer to that question.
In Arc 4, Episode 1, Celebi says they can't visit the same point in time twice. But the special relativity states that which points in space-time are at the same time depends on the reference frame, i.e. the velocity of the observer. How does special relativity affect which points in space-time Celebi can time travel to?
Yeah, it's basically right. Celebi has its own. Celebi does not. Celebi exists like in its own. Celebi's own existence is in its own frame of reference, but like in terms of the limitations of what Celebi can do, that's not from Celebi's frame of reference. That's from like the absolute timeline frame of reference.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Celebi is the observer.
Yeah, I get that's a good way.
Yes and no. In this case, the observer is like third party, like RC second or like third party that's observing both Celebi. And like the rules are set where both Celebi and the timeline are in the frame of reference.
Or
Right, like it's just a third party observer.
we have a made up world, so special relativity doesn't exist.
No, absolutely not. Einstein did not put in work for us to just ignore. Nah, that too.
Why do I have to look this up, brother? What'd you add in this? So Eli, when making the Susie page, apparently wrote down, is Andrew going to have to make another announcement about Susie in the Arc 5 Q&A? Maybe. I don't know what I'm making yet. I'm trying to read through this. Is it the Ralts, or so we're led to believe? Guys, why do you think Ralts is somebody else? Susie is Susie.
Let child be child.
The child's just a child. It's cool.
Nothing
Are
to
you
see
saying
here.
Susie defined special relativity in this world?
Susie did, but lost the paperwork, and that's why Einstein got credit.
So there's canonically an Einstein in our world. Then.
There is canonically an Einstein in this universe.
Oh no.
Who is not a scientist,
we've-
but just
Oh
somebody
no,
who
we've
takes
opened a whole new
papers.
bag of worms.
Einstein is just a patent office guy.
Wait.
Do. Yes, here we go. Another question. How much time is there between each generation of recruits of the Lost? Is it just that when one recruit, whether they know they are one or not, gets too old, a new person gets a legendary sighting, or is it more complicated than that? This is one of those things that I wish I had planned, but I didn't. There is probably some time frame between these. I think, loosely speaking, a generation of recruits is sort of quote unquote formed in preparation for a crisis situation, a la Hoopa Go Burr. Recruits do their job and then stay recruits until they all get too old and pass on, or whatever the equivalent is. Then everything is calm. Arceus, effectively every now and then, Arceus gets like a eyebrow raising moment, and then sort of like, "Hey guys, recruit time." Um, Mew goes down, picks the first recruit, sort of slaps him in the face a couple times, and then from there, recruits are reformed, solve the problem, stay recruits, calm down. There you go. If you go way back to Ditto time, let me actually uh, restart the music in a moment. If you go back to the recruit time, their crisis, I believe, already happened, and so now they're sort of just continuing the motions from there. And
Yeah,
the
Darkrai was
residual
like a minor episode in their recruits.
Yeah, I think whatever their crisis was had already happened, and Darkrai was, from their perspective, a residual uh, issue that occurred after the fact, and so tried to solve the problem from there.
Darkrai was a straggler. Darkrai was one of the few bad guys that got away. It's like, all right, we'll deal with them later.
Sort of, yeah. Um,
Or maybe Darkrai like got out of jail. There's I'm sure that there's a lot of unexplored lore there that is not going to be explored in this show, probably, unless something drastic happens. In which case, why am I here?
um, that's my answer there. I'm sure you've. So this is Governor Glaceon here. I'm sure you've read my take on the Kyle's dad's conspiracy, where Kyle's dad works for the recruits by the time this is read on stream. What say you on the matter? Let's go to Kyle on this one. Kyle, does your dad
I
work
have
for the
not read it.
recruits?
I haven't read it.
There you go.
What's this conspiracy?
The conspiracy apparently is that your father is part of the recruits.
I haven't read the entire thing, so I don't know what the supporting evidence or everything is. But the most answer I can give you without all the context, because I have not caught up on this, is like I have no idea how far fetched this conspiracy. I genuinely don't know.
Oh, sorry, Eli's confirming this. So I think it's more that Kyle's dad is a recruiter for the recruits. A recruiter for the recruits. Interesting. So we've sort of established though that the recruiters are themselves recruits, right? So
Yeah.
the first recruit is always the one. So Mew always
Like
comes down and finds
if anything, like the people who are recruiting recruits are the legendaries who are having these interactions, these first interactions with the recruits, right?
So in
Before
that
they
case,
know
your
they're
father
recruits.
is a legendary. Your thoughts?
Something tells me that I saw Celebi and I wasn't like, hey, Dad, unless is the we my mind can't. My mind can't. My mind has melted too much in this show already.
Let's do it, man. That's right. The story's changing at this point. Kyle's dad is Celebi. Just breaking all the rules. Uh, that's why you're so disappointed when you first meet Celebi. You recognize, oh shoot, it's dad.
But yeah, actually, that does add up.
Oh man. Sorry, I'm just adding music to the playlist here. Daisy, your thoughts
On Kyle's dad?
on Kyle's dad, a character that you not only have not met, I think is in the show for a total of 5 minutes. So
I mean, my thoughts is I haven't written the script for that part yet, so that's why we're still stumbling. I haven't given you the note.
your early thoughts about it.
My early thoughts would be that maybe Kyle is Kyle's dad.
That's
And
gonna hurt my
Kyle
head
is
too much.
actually Celebi.
Kyle, you've been Celebi this whole time. Your thoughts?
I'm onion. I am onion.
I don't know. I don't know though. I feel like based off of the way that the recruits are set up, Kyle's dad probably couldn't be a recruit because it seems like you have them like separated by like Pokemon type, and Kyle's already the grass type Virizion. But
There are other grass legendaries.
this
There
is
are,
true,
but we've
this is
sort of
true.
the doors are set in stone, which
But maybe Kyle's dad is Virizion.
there you go. That's Glaceon, that's your thoughts about this case. It's that was a thing that occurred, and we're gonna roll with what we got here. What else we got here? I like this one. It's not a Q&A question, but it's a fun theory that Eli threw out there that I'm going to share with us all now. Whoa, wild theory I just thought of. What if Susie is a secret 13th member of the Recruits of the Lost, being like a direct link to Arceus, and that's how she knows everything?
If Susie's that overpowered, can we just get rid of the secret label and have Susie join us, please?
Sorry, I gotta restructure my notes real quick.
Uh,
Can't find out the secret so early on.
I will say this: we have sort of implied that you shouldn't tell folks about the Recruits of the Lost. It's up to you if you want to stick to that.
Honor, do I look like a mole to you?
Well,
Do I look
no,
like a
I mean,
snitch?
I
Do I look like a rat? Does Kyle look like a rat? No, Kyle looks like a gecko. You know what geckos are? Upstanding creatures. I mean,
Here's-
yeah, like they make sure you're covered. They make sure you're safe.
Here's my
Like
theory.
your secrets, your secret organization.
I think Susie is a recruit for the future. Not like time traveling future, but I think Susie replaces Adam when Adam's time is up. Susie just hasn't met a legendary yet.
Not a Scratch sequel confirmed.
It's just
that's the
Susie.
sequel right there. Glaceon asks, I'm gonna ask this only because Daisy is new, not because I actually want to ask it. How do you make the perfect grilled cheese sandwich?
Oh goodness.
I don't want to answer the question.
Well, you don't have to, I guess, but
It's in the rules, though.
mm.
Anyway,
Then
Daisy, your
which rule-
thoughts? How do you make the perfect
Oh, my
grilled
thoughts first. I
No,
don't
no,
have
no,
to
you-
go up
you-
against yours.
cheese? No, because we have shared our thoughts.
thoughts on grilled cheese are established at this point.
I guess
all
this
you.
is fair. I will say, maybe it's cheating, but I was preparing for this question. I studied day and night. I baked my bread. I found my cheese. I do have very particular thoughts, though, which not a lot of people agree with me, I guess. But the perfect
This is
grilled
the
cheese,
platform for it.
the perfect grilled cheese sandwich. The cheese is a little irrelevant. The most important thing about it is that it does need to be a meltable cheese. It cannot be a cheese that is too hard that does not melt. But the one thing that needs to stay consistent is that butter in the pan, outside of the bread, thin layer of mayonnaise. Perfect golden brown grilled cheese every time. Butter in the pan, mayonnaise on the bread.
There you go. Your official grilled
You can
cheese.
shun me if you wish, but I stand by it.
Listen, you know what? This is the first actual episode on the feed that you're on by name. I'm not gonna start off our not a scratch working relationship by airing our dirty laundry, but all I'm gonna say is we are throwing hands after this. Mayonnaise?
If you
We're throwing-
have not tried
throwing-
it and
We're
you are
throwing
just,
hands. We're
if you're
throwing
just
hands.
judging on the fact that it sounds weird, I would say try it first. Get yourself a tomato soup. You can do classic, you can do American cheese if you want, but thin layer of mayonnaise on the outside, butter in the pan. Perfect.
I will not speak. If I speak, I'm interrupted.
Okay, Eli has extra information about this. The conspiracy theory earlier. It's that Kyle's dad is a scout for the recruits and searches for signs that someone might be a recruit, and that it was Kyle's dad who gave them the badge. I think I forget
feel like
who
it
it was,
was-
but I think I remember one of the current at the time recruits being the one that gave them the badge.
Yeah, no, I think Kyle's dad just gave him a letter that came in the mail because, hey,
got the
son,
mail.
you got a letter. Yeah, I mean, it's in the words of the late great Kobe Bryant, that's a Bikram yoga strip.
Kyle's dad is the Mew room.
Kyle's dad is the Mew Room. That's facts, totally. Next question from Glaceon. What percentage of fan submitted characters have been used that have been submitted? More than half, I think, but there are a number that I've been holding off on. So if you're still listening to this, either live or in the podcast form, and you either have a character that hasn't been used or have an idea for a character that you haven't sent me, please do. Even if you mentioned this to me now, remind me once again. Because as we're going through and sort of refreshing, revitalizing, adding perfumes and scents and the whole 9 yards, please remind me if there are any characters I haven't used yet. Now that things have sort of established themselves and we're back to a two-player, one GM version of the show, having these extra NPC characters would be very nice because I have a lot of ideas that all of you that have been listening to the episodes have heard via epilogues of additional folks that are coming in. It's funny because I don't think either of you two have heard the epilogues, have you?
Yeah, I haven't
I
listened
listened
to
to
many
the
of them.
show.
Did you hear the epilogues or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know the secret. I write them.
Well, yes, you do write them. Beside those. Nevertheless, so everybody at home, I think, has a rough idea of the character, or at least a little bit of detail about the character, but don't have any idea about the source information from it, or like where it's based off of. And weirdly enough, these two, without probably realizing it, know the source information, but don't know the characters. And that's all.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right.
That's all I'm gonna say on that. Let's continue forward with the things.
More questions.
More
Here we go.
cues for us to aid.
Eli, Arc 5, question. How many episodes of the entire series were recorded at night? I do not have a number for this. But I'm
We could
going
probably find out.
Yeah, we could probably find out. I'm gonna guess it's around a
my-
dozen.
My guess was gonna be lower. My guess was gonna be something on the order of like 6 to 8.
Yeah, that
I
might
can
be-
only think of I can only think of 2 to 3 nighttime recording sessions that we've had, unless there are more that I'm forgetting.
No, you're probably
um, Now the question is, if it's late afternoon, but it's coming at the end of like a marathon recording session of like 4+ episodes, does that count? Because those do reach similar energy. I guess that's
I think yeah, I think
because
those might-
if so, your guess of a dozen might be spot on. But
I
in
think
terms of, like actually recorded like after like the sun has gone down, then my guess is something around a half dozen.
I think there's probably I think your guess of like 6 to 8 recorded when it's literal nighttime, but there's probably about a dozen that are nighttime energy, which is
Yeah.
even more chaotic than our normal selves. I'll let this speak for itself here. Arc 5 question: why is Muhammad so correct about cats being better than dogs? Here we go. Not only have we reached the finale, we finally reached the cat v dog argument. Muhammad, I'll give you 60 seconds.
Listen, my body of work speaks for itself. I forget which episode it was.
I think it was the finale that you had the.
Was it in the finale that I know
think-
it was in that
think it was
like
the beginning of the
recording
finale.
space. It was in that. It's somewhere in the last 3 episodes that that I went on a tirade at some point. Did it end up being the intro? Did it end up being in the episode? I don't remember.
It's in the episode because that's why people are talking about it. I think it's in the part before we start the episode.
Yeah. But yeah, no, my body of work speaks for itself.
Apparently, our Discord channel, as far as I can see, is a cat over dog channel, which interesting.
I mean, no, I'm sure there's a number of dog people in the Discord. I know for a fact that there are dog people in the Discord, but all I'm saying is they seem to be awful quiet. That's all I'm saying.
I
no,
like both cats and dogs.
And that's perfectly okay. That's perfectly
Dogs
okay.
are a lot more
No,
work.
there's nothing wrong with being a dog person. There's nothing wrong with, there's nothing wrong with enjoying dogs. I personally am of the opinion that cats are better.
I want to get a cat soon.
Cats are great.
I'm going through the chat.
Cats are
right here.
great, especially if they're around you from when they're kittens. They're fantastic.
The theory of Kyle's dad recruit thing was brought on by the fact that the badge sort of fell behind Kyle and he couldn't see who dropped it. I love conspiracy theories in universes that I know the answer to. Let me be very clear about this. I don't like conspiracy theories in real life, but I love conspiracy theories in universes that I understand, or fictional universes. In a fun theory, I hate to dump water on it. Probably not true. I don't know if I established who it was that dropped it. My guess is probably, I don't think it would be Adam. It'd be either Quagmire or Isaac that threw
I
this
mean, it
behind.
has to be. I feel like it has to. It has to be.
It has to be
either-
one of the
It has
three.
to be one of those three. It has to be
Yeah.
one of those three.
It has to be one of those three, and I'm pretty sure
Like it can't be a
Adam is-
recruit. It can't be a recruit we haven't met.
Yeah, we
Or
have.
could
'cause
it?
then they've been really lazy to all the meetings.
Yeah,
What if
and
it
like
was Hoopa?
Ooh, what if it
Koopa
was-
self-sabotaging. I'm down.
What if it
Hoopa
was?
needed a challenge.
I can't beat you unless you're at your strength.
Maybe
Um,
Hoopa's just doing this for some friends.
That's the real plot twist behind it.
Listen. If Hoopa's like, man, I just wanted some friends. Kyle's slapping Hoopa across the face and then banishing him to the Shadow Realm. Like that's it.
The real
Jeez.
enemy was the friends you made along the way.
I don't think that's how the saying goes, but sure.
It does look like we have another question in the Twitch chat too.
Yeah. So regarding the battle with Noivern, how much did the dice betray you, or did you mean for him to get one-shotted? Combination of factors. I think at that point, the way the story was going, Noivern wasn't going to win, even with the other pirates on the side, because it was a 3v10 battle.
Yeah.
The ideas that were made prior to it, I think with the way that the story went, it quickly shifted away from that. It would be hard to stick with the ideas that I had, so I had to pivot. And the real battle was with Hoopa and the overarching like travel to past, present, future thing and figure out the challenges there. So that's the case. The bright side is I can always use that idea later, but at that point he was probably going to get one shot anyway. I mean, he didn't have to get one shotted, but he was going to lose, and it was entertaining.
I was not. There was no way we were gonna frame that where I was gonna be like okay, like we lose here. Like there's no like
Yeah.
I have too much pride to lose a 10v3.
Exactly, yeah. It was one of those things where it just, it can't fall the way that I intended, so let's just have it fall in a fun way. And then I can just pack up that idea and put it somewhere else. Back to the Discord here. Evelyn asks, Evelyn's comment here, I'm playing Mansoor is still really funny to me. Because I think he did that instead of saying I'm playing Ralph.
yeah. I forget when. When he did it.
Eli's next question, did you make Sindorn get seasick easily just to avoid another boat arc? Yes and no. Part of the reason, and you can sort of sense this, and I think Muhammad clearly sense this, and I don't know if you agree necessarily with the idea, but time had to tick, and if you were on a boat, time would not tick nearly as quickly as if
Yeah.
you walked everywhere.
Yeah. Also, like you experienced what it was like because you had this really cool idea, and I didn't catch on, and I don't know whether or not Mazur caught on, but like you were just kind of pulling teeth to get that idea out, and I don't know if it's fair to put you through that again. I say as that's kind of what Arc 5 was.
So Arc 5 Q&A. I am going to say this statement and not, or ask this question, and I'm not going to add any detail. So, this is specifically directed at Muhammad. Feel free to say whatever you want. I will not add further detail to this. So Arc 5 Q&A. Did Muhammad ever figure out the hint to get to the Sky Melodica from the air dream he had?
If I did, would this be a question?
There's your answer, everyone.
Like, I think like I don't know if people have the impression that I play up the confusion. No, I am genuinely befuddled.
Kurdos asks, I think maybe asked this previously. I forget if Kurdos asked this to someone else. When shall we see a crazy Piplup boy again? If we take a sharp turn right. And then that one's been answered already, so that's cool. Fun question for Muhammad. Muhammad, did you ever consider that losing was a possibility going into the battle against Red Eye that you actually did take the L on?
I this is gonna sound super cocky, but like I don't go into okay. It's not I don't go into battles with the mentality that losing is not possible. Just I go into battles with the idea that losing is not probable, because if losing was probable, I'd do everything in my power to avoid that battle. And that's one that I like brazenly went into. So was I like, oh my goodness, like how could this possibly happen? No, but I was definitely surprised I took that L.
Next question here. Eli asks, what was the third card option in the Monty Hall problem episode? And even less important, but what was the ghost card option?
Will we find out?
Yeah, I gotta remember what it was. So the options that we had, do you remember the options that you had?
Do I remember anything?
Fair. I'm trying to remember what the options were. One of them was Tapu Fini. That's the one that you ended up picking. The two revealed options were Keldeo and Tapu Fini. Okay.
And weren't all three cards?
There were 3 waters
Water?
and 1 ghost, and you just threw out the ghost immediately.
Yeah. So I mean, what could the water have been?
I think
Could have been going down the list. Kyogre. What water legendaries and mythicals are there? Kyogre, Keldeo, Fini, Manaphy, Fione. I'm doing this off memory. So I have no idea what I'm.
Okay, so I'm trying to go back. I think. Oh, I do. Oh, I do remember who it is. Okay, yes. So revealed options were Keldeo and Tapu Fini. The other ones were Fione. That was the water one.
Okay. Yeah.
And the ghost one was Giratina.
Nice. Cool.
Uh,
Yeah, I think Ghost was like it was like Ghost is pretty easy because there aren't many ghosts. It's like Marshadow, Giratina, Spectrier.
that might be
I think that's
actually.
it.
Yeah.
I think that's
right? Isn't Darkrai Dark and Ghost?
No,
Nah, it's
Darkrai's just dark.
It's just Dark,
Um,
really? Huh.
There might be one or I think like Blacephalon is the
Oh,
other one.
Hoopa. Yeah, Hoopa's the other one.
Hoopa and Blacephalon. Yeah.
But I think it was Giratina and then Fione for those options there.
I feel like I ended up with the best option out of the 4 for the situation.
Potentially. Since you were going into the future, Keldeo was the worst option. Because Keldeo wouldn't
Yeah.
really able to help much. I think I had Fiona as the best option.
What was Fiona gonna do? Like send up a signal flare for Kyogre or something?
What it was gonna do, I'll leave to myself in case.
Well, I
actually
mean,
use it.
yeah, because I'm telling y'all right now, Arc 6. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go to that town. We're gonna go to the what's it called, the Edge.
Yep.
We're gonna go to the Edge, and I'm gonna pull Fiona. And Onward's gonna have to tell us what's gonna happen.
he's willing it into existence. A 1 in 100 chance, roughly.
Not a one, bro. I'm gonna roll whatever I need to roll to get that. Like,
What if Manaphy isn't actually the child?
Imagine all this time you've been lugging Manaphy around for no reason. Manaphy's like, nah, bro, I'm just here to watch what you're doing.
I'm here so I don't get fined.
Oh man, that'd be beautiful. Ooh, this is a fun question. Another question from Evelyn. Do you ironically or unironically believe in the gambler's fallacy? You guys often say I wasted my nat 20, even though dice rolls are hopefully independent, meaning that the chance of getting a future nat 20 has nothing to do with how many nat 20s you have in the past. The gambler's fallacy, as a guy with a stats background, the gambler's fallacy is not real. Like you do not have a better
It's
or
a,
worse
it's a
chance.
fallacy. It's a
Yeah,
fallacy.
it's a fallacy. It's not true. If I roll a nat 20, there's as much of a chance of me getting a nat 20 on the next roll as getting a nat 1. There's no increased or decreased odds. With that said, it's kind of funny when gamblers fallacy situations occur, and wasting your nat 20 is a thing. It's not that you can guarantee that you will get a nat 20 going forward, though. So yes and no.
Yeah, as someone with a very heavy math background, like, no, I do not, like, I do not unironically believe in the gambler's fallacy. But like the vibes.
Vibes. That's the answer.
It's vibes. It's vibes. It's vibes. It's just vibes.
Daisy, your thoughts on the gambler's fallacy? Can you waste a nat 20, or was that nat 20 always going to show up in that moment and never again?
I don't think any dice roll is wasted because it all is for the story.
Boo! Stop being polite.
And see, that's the other correct answer, but like, come on. Come on.
Come on. Yeah, no.
Come on.
Manaphy.
No, this is part of the reason that Daisy's on the show now, to, you know, make us tell a story. Because we don't do
Oh
that.
yeah.
We just play a game. We just roll dice and then yell about the dice. We don't actually tell a story. And
I
story is
mean-
kind of important.
What is a story if not dice? Or what is a game? Just roll some dice and see, let's have some fun.
It's about more than just. Oh, it's about
about the
me.
vibes.
It's about me. It's not. It's about the vibe. Well, the vibes are from the fact that it's about me beating that guy in a dice roll up. That's what it's about. That's what it's about at the end of the day. That dude sitting there behind his hidden behind his profile picture and his avatar. That dude right there. I want to snatch his soul. That's what I want.
And that's
why
really
the
what
nat
I'm here
20
to prevent.
And that's what the nat 20 feels. That's why the nat 20 feels wasted.
I am out of questions on the GM's office channel. I'm going through the school cafeteria because I do know there's Q&A questions, a couple of them somewhere in there.
We've done it.
But there we go. We're almost done with the entirety of the Q&A.
It's the pool meme, Anirudh holding up the Discord channel, Twitch chat, treading water, and then at the bottom Twitter.
Twitter, I'm gonna be honest. Not only do I not use Twitter, I don't think anybody I know uses Twitter at this point.
NBA Twitter is still very much alive
NBA Twitter is great, but
for the next month.
I go on YouTube for my NBA Twitter content because that's how Logic works.
Oh, same. Yeah.
Yeah, I've very much stopped using Twitter. It's still there. But I've jumped to Tumblr.
I love this theory that this isn't a real theory that's officially been posted, but I love this theory that the previous generation of recruits are just all of your parents. That'd be wild. Oh man.
Not that it matters much, but it does seem that there's an ad break occurring.
Oh, we can. Yeah, let's let it run.
Yeah.
While I go find. Here's one question. That's good.
It's not just a big Dorito this time.
It's a different one.
What's that?
Awesome.
Diablo 4.
I wonder how much personalization there.
I don't know.
For the
Like,
for Twitch ads.
yeah. Like, is it based on the stream? Is it based on the viewer? Like, I wonder where they base the ad personalization off of, or if it's just standard across the platform. My guess is it's not that.
I mean, maybe it's personalized because I just saw a thing that was basically Planet Earth but for dinosaurs. And I am somewhere in the middle of writing a game sort of like
Oh,
Planet Earth.
I thought you were gonna say I'm somewhere between Planet Earth and dinosaurs.
Yes, I am actually. Yeah, this is where I'm calling in from.
Yeah, I'm calling in between Planet Earth and dinosaurs.
I'm just floating around on a big dinosaur, actually. Got jetpacks. Me and my Tyrantrum.
Ooh, all right. So we can answer this question actually while we have the chance, because this isn't a huge question. Was it ever confirmed whether the Skarmory in the past is the same as the evil Skarmory in the present? Mohammed, do you remember if we explicitly said anything?
We never explicitly said anything, but like I feel like it's very heavily implied that the answer is no.
Yeah, they are not. The two different Skarmories that just happen to both hate Kyle with a passion.
Listen,
Uh,
metal birds and geckos, they don't get along too well.
I still love how
Why do you think Geico doesn't offer airplane insurance?
I still love how Skarmory's like biggest motivation, I think, against Kyle is that there was this one kid that hung out with Kyle that broke its nose, and I've never seen that kid again. And in this new timeline, I've never seen that kid again. But I keep seeing Kyle all over the place, so I'm just gonna bring it out on him.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Oh man.
I mean, since then, Kyle's also given him a beating or two. You know, not quite nose breaking, but still, you know.
Yeah, nothing as permanent as his nose not being straight anymore.
You all have any questions? Doesn't have to be about the show. It could just be existential. Or
Yeah,
like,
if anyone in the chat has a question that they want to throw in before we end it, because I only have one more unless I can find another.
I was
question to
talking
ask.
about you.
Oh, me.
Yeah, no, Daisy was
yeah.
talking. Daisy was talking to the two of us. I didn't realize you did not realize.
That's your question. I was talking to you.
There you go.
What? Asking each other questions, having conversations? Blah, disgusting.
That's what the game is for.
Oh, here's a separate question. Mohammed, is your lawyer Kyle?
Is my lawyer Kyle? Yes.
There you go.
I'm about to get sued. I'm about to lose a fat lawsuit.
Man. Let's see. I had a few questions I forgot to put in the Discord, but I don't remember what they were. You're always free to ask them throughout. Between now and the start of Arc 6, we're open to answering questions willy-nilly on the Discord. After Arc 6 starts, probably...
Rule of thumb is once an arc Q&A comes out, right? Like any other questions about that arc are fair game to be answered. It's nice to have them in the Q&A episode for posterity's sake.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to answer your Arc 6 questions, but We'll answer your Arc 5 questions. We'll
Yeah.
answer your Arc 0 questions. We'll also answer your Arc 7.
Oh, this is a question.
We've already recorded that one.
This is a question from Glaceon in the Discord. My fan submitted character was a female Glaceon. In Arc 3, Episode 11, when Ralph meets Miles at Dartrix in the woods, Miles mentions that his next client might be a female Glaceon. Is Selena a criminal? I can neither confirm nor deny
1, 2,
it.
3, 4, 5th.
What I will say is this. I don't know if I explicitly stated that they were a Glaceon. I might have. I don't recall that. If I did, then it's a Glaceon. Maybe it's yours, maybe it's not. If I didn't, then it's somebody. I seem to recall like an icy name, and I think that was the like motivation of like Ralph, go break from the mold, go find.
Yeah,
what
but
this is.
also, I mean, we definitely learned that it was not a sphere.
After the fact, we learned that it was not snow.
Well, we also learned it was not a field because that's why Ralph dropped it.
Okay. I don't know if we learned if it was a Glaceon or just not a Sphere.
I mean, I think we learned it was not a field by learning what it was. I think it's just a matter of whether it was a Glaceon or some other race.
Okay. Maybe it is your character. Maybe it's not. Who knows?
We'll
1,
only have
2,
to play to
3,
find
4,
out.
5th.
So those are the questions that I have Discord wise. We are caught up on the Twitch. So there's only one more question remaining that I want to ask both of you before I ask myself this question. And I am exactly, Eli, you're on the same page I am. I'm going to steal Fran's question. Fran, thank you once again for submitting this question. I know you didn't actually submit it, but thank you very much for submitting it in the past. I'm going to use it again. I've been using this in real life now, and it's been working wonders. So, question is, what is one question that you expected me to ask, me being the chat? One question that you expected us to ask, but didn't ask. What's the answer to that question? I'll throw one to each of you. And I have a meme answer and an actual answer.
I'm gonna let Daisy go first because I don't have an answer.
Oh goodness.
It's one question that chat auto have asked you, but didn't. About the
Like,
show.
what question
about
you were
everything.
expecting to
Yeah,
get?
what's the question you were expecting?
Maybe. Who am I?
That's a good point. Now that we're 2 hours into this, who are you?
I can either say that now, or maybe it'll stay a mystery for them to find later on in the adventure.
We could.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah. So here near the end of the Q&A, I will introduce myself. Hello, everybody. Thanks for sticking around so long. And if you're in the chat or just listening, but I am Daisy. You might have seen me in the Discord. I've started to interact a bit more. I don't know. I've been a listener for a while. I've run a podcast of my own called the Two's Company Podcast. It's been on and off here and there. Gone through some changes, but Honorud reached out to me because he was looking for a new person to join the show, and I was super excited to jump on. It's been exciting. I'm excited to see where else things go. I don't know. I'll kind of hang around. You can ask me other questions if you want. I've been playing tabletop games for over 8 years now. I usually am a GM, so I'm excited to be a player. But we'll see. I do some game design of my own. I am starting to run some games professionally as a professional GM, and have some podcast stuff like this in the mix. So yeah, that's me. You'll learn more.
Yeah.
I was applauding, but between my noise reduction and the noise gate that I have, because this is just going from live straight to feed, you couldn't hear me clapping, unfortunately.
I felt the clapping in my heart.
Mohammed, you have a question you expected people to ask?
Do I have questions I expected people to ask? Yes. Do I have questions that I expected people to ask that didn't get asked? No, and part of that is because I genuinely do not remember enough of Arc 5 to think if there were any other salient points that I thought would be asked about. But I feel like all the salient points that I could think of were actually asked. So, good on you guys. Y'all have exceeded my expectations once again.
I was expecting a question about the train bombing, just because it's a meme at this point. I don't think the right people are in the live chat, and I don't think it was asked in advance. But there you go, train bombing. What's that? My answer's the same. We'll get to it when we get to it. It's my meme question there.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It'll all get resolved eventually. Just,
It's just a thing that happened once. Don't think too much about it.
It is. I promise it's the right answer. Like, the answer will exist sometime. You know, I will tell you right now.
Eventually.
If we answer that question, I want you to know that question is answered. Prepare for the finale, like the finale. Not immediately, but that's your checkered flag there. Final lap. Once we answer that question, there's gonna be like a handful of episodes left. So it may be a while from now, but that's the question there. In terms of real question, oh, did I actually did I actually say don't ask about that? Okay. If I said don't ask about it, then yeah, that's on me.
At a certain point, you did like half jokingly say, "Guys, stop asking."
Feel free to keep asking me. And I want you to. All right. Feel free to keep asking me about the train bombing at the appropriate times. And if I tell you no, I want you to clip this and send it to me. Perfect. Thanks. Just at appropriate times. So don't ask me this at like 2 a.m. immediately after an episode comes out, where we hint at the possibility of a train existing in the universe. In terms of real questions, I think I expected one question that popped into my head. I was expecting someone to ask about that new guild that was established at the very end of the season. So, like, what exactly is that going to look like? What's the timeline for that?
Oh yeah.
How does that work? And I will tell you this, while I can't give you specific answers about that now, I will say the first episode of the new season, we haven't recorded it yet, the first episode of the new season will touch on that. So, because I was fully expecting people to be like, oh, this is the 8th/9th guild. This got to be a big deal. Who's gonna join that? Who's gonna run that? Who's gonna be the new Carlos Costa or Sir Fetchster?
I can't wait for the general response to that sentiment being like, "Yeah, we figured. We were just being patient."
No, patience. What? You guys?
Patience from an internet community? Crazy. Though to be fair, we have forced you all to.
Yeah, that's very true. Classic Andrew, ask himself a question, then give a non-answer to the question. All right, I need the question that I can actually answer.
What do you have for breakfast this morning?
Yeah, what did I?
Answer
I don't
that
think.
question.
Did I have breakfast? I didn't even have breakfast this morning. There's your answer.
Oh my god, this guy.
Non-answer again. I want to give a.
You know, you're allowed to end the Q&A on you not giving an answer to a question, because that is like how the Q&A goes.
Yeah, but
You're allowed to. It's don't worry. Like, you're allowed. It's okay.
All right, fine. Guess we'll end it on there. I wanted to give an actual question, but I guess not. So, that ends the Q&A. Everyone.
Okay. Now I feel like I pressured you into it, and
I don't have
now
any
I
more
feel
questions.
bad. And
I could ask you about Patreon stuff.
Please do. An actual question.
Is there anything new happening with the Patreon?
I wonder if there is. Stares behind me at the person running that. Guess what, everyone? If you're a Patreon member, new stuff, probably somehow, some form, changing things. So check that out if you haven't already, because we'll be posting updates about that in the going forward. For those of you, as we sort of wind down this, there are new Patreon stuff. Daisy, do you want to introduce one of the many, many things that are changing on the Patreon?
Sure. I get to be in charge of a Patreon tier.
Which means that tier actually gets content.
Yeah,
Very true.
as I said, I am a GM, which is part of the reason that I was asked to show up. But I'm going to be running a, I guess, limited series. I don't know, of a bunch of different games and stuff for the, what is it? Is it the
It's a $10
whatever
tier, I believe.
the third tier of the Patreon is?
Yep.
So hopefully we're gonna get some new content there. We're gonna learn some new games. We're gonna get some new stories. Mohammed and I have already recorded one already, which I'm super excited about. And before that, we're gonna release something for free on the Patreon, right? Is that
Yes.
the-
yes.
the Pokemon Ranger one shot that way back 2 years ago, however
Yep.
long, I ran for the folks on Not a Scratch. So way back at the beginning, I did say Ranger needs some more rep. I am the one who brings that rep. So we're hopefully gonna get you some Pokemon Ranger content that you all can listen to get a look kind of at what that new tier might look like, some of the games that we'd be running and whatnot. So that's super exciting. If you're interested in that, you can check out the Patreon wherever those links are. Yeah.
What we're saying is, if you're not already, if you're already a member of the Patreon, thank you for putting up with us. You're getting your content now. If you are not yet a member of the Patreon, now is the time to join. And by now I mean now, like within the next week or two.
Yeah,
Yes,
whenever
this-
we start releasing that
Yep.
Ranger stuff and then actually have a date for when the rest of the stuff is gonna start. But yeah.
Yeah, so check that out if you haven't already. Eli asked when is the Susie show coming back? Soon-ish, as we're revitalizing everything. I would say when Arc 6 starts, there's a plan in place for the Susie show to start, to restart. 'Cause I have a habit, as you probably know, of putting deadlines that I can't necessarily meet. So rather than do that, I've decided to take whatever deadline I thought of and then double it. So by the time Arc 6 starts, I would say there's a plan in place for the Susie show to restart. And again, getting more interesting knowledge about the backgrounds of different characters and stuff. So again, that's for the Patreon folks of any tier. Can access the Susie show along with other items and stuff like that. So check that out if you haven't already. There's a couple of stuff way back in the vault. So, question: what Pokemon does Daisy play? Rigel, thank you for asking. Daisy, what Pokemon do you play? That was quietly introduced.
I guess we never fully said it, but the very end of the last episode, I got introduced as Rose the Baker. I will be playing an Audino, who she's a baker, and pretty much that's kind of all I know right now.
I'm in Arc 6, Episode 0.
But yeah, more will come. We're gonna record that at some point, and yeah, Rose is just hanging around. I do some baking myself, so I thought, why not? And I'm gonna make it a goal that before we record, I'm gonna probably make some baked good. Today I made some bagels, but just to get me in the zone. She is Regigigas. Yes, that is the code name that she's got. And the Pokemon that she's seen is Meloetta.
Yep. Cool. So, I think that wraps it up there. Thank you both for joining me today, Mohammed, Daisy.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Yeah, I figured I might as well.
Eli might have to ask you, Rose, how to make some Rose. Now I'm calling you Daisy. Might have to ask you how to make bagels at some point. So look forward to it, Rose.
Absolutely.
For those of you that are listening on live or via the podcast, you're listening to this. If you're listening to this live, the podcast version of this episode will come out this coming Tuesday. If you're listening to this on the podcast version, as you're listening to it right now, it's come out this Tuesday. Every week after this, will be stuff coming out. You'll see the summary episodes, both the old ones and the new ones, coming out over the course of the next week or two. And then from there, we transition over. Arc 6 trailer will pop up sooner or later, and then from there, we'll start off Arc 6 with our one new character or other veteran, and then proceed forward from there. As a note as well, because we're introducing a brand new character, got to give them the runway they deserve. So similar to how Ralph and Kyle had a runway to jump in with the Arc 0 series, and the reset that occurred with the timeline where we had in Arc 0 to sort of, or in Episode 0 to reset with Muhammad and I. Similar sort of vein, Arc 6 is going to have an Episode 0 where we really dive deep into Daisy's character Rose, going and getting you enough information so that you don't just start off with complete lack of knowledge. So I recommend when that comes out, please do listen to it. It's one of those things that you don't have to listen necessarily because it's not progressing the plot forward, but it will help going forward just to understand who Rose is and what they're like as a character, their knowledge, their information, everything from, background to future expectations and all that in between. So be looking forward for that. Arc 6 coming soon to a theater near you, I guess, if your theater is your earbuds. Any last comments from our panel here? Daisy, you finally, I see it now on the cast member thing. You're finally a cast member now on the Discord.
Yes, I was just going through all the special things that I get to see now and seeing everybody's confounded reactions to me showing up.
Any last minute thoughts?
Yeah, I thought I'd stealthily just do that in the middle of the Q&A and see if I started a firestorm. Because why not?
Coming through the theater near you. So the anime is a go. The anime is in production, in that the show, the podcast exists, so the dub lines are done. Now we just have to do the animation on top of it.
No, but see, here's the thing: we're providing source material because we all know when adaptations of things outpace their source material, like it's a wrap, it's done, it's garbage, right? So, we're just making sure that there's enough source material.
The only limit to the anime is the theater of your mind.
Is Gigas and Reggie Gigas in the show his last name? Gigas is not his last name. Just straight up Reggie Gigas. Reggie Gigas.
No, it is his first name is Reggie and his last name is Fizame.
If we meet Reggie Gigas again, we can ask. Though currently he is they, because I don't think Reggie Gigas, being a legendary, I don't think it has a gender. They are currently on the middle of an iceberg, protecting nothing now. So go ahead and ask if we want to go back there. Sure.
Reggie is protecting their heart.
I mean, Reggie right now is kind of just vibing in the snow for no reason. But sure, why not? That does end the stream, though. Thank you, everyone, for listening, watching, and supporting the show in any way, shape, or form that you do. Thanks for listening to Not a Scratch. I have been your PM, your DM, your GM, Anaru himself.
I've been Mohammed.
And I've been Daisy.
And
I'm a spoiler.
And until next time, everyone. Transition to the ending. Perfect. Take care.